Hi everyone, today on Ukraine Today. Good drones are burning Russia's war machine. Exclusive footage of prescient strikes on Russian military and logistics targets. The situation near Pokrovsk is hellish. 11,000 Russian troops have gathered to encircle the city under the Kremlin dictator's order, but Ukraine's defense forces are holding firm against overwhelming odds. French armed forces are preparing to deploy troops to Ukraine starting in 2026. Orban is rallying a pro-Putin alliance in Europe. You're watching the news from Ukrainians to the world, the full truth about Russia's bloody war against Ukraine and the united world all in one place. I'm Serafima Shelenka. Hit that like button, subscribe and stay tuned to know the real story of this brutal war. Let's begin. Russia continues to strike civilian targets. Once again, Kherson is under attack. The occupiers shelled a children's hospital with artillery. 9 people are injured, also including 4 children. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense forces are striking deep behind enemy lines, hitting military targets, logistics hubs, and the oil industry that fuels Russia's war machine. According to our sources, SBU attack drones destroyed a Panzer S-2 system, 2 oil depots and 2 radar stations in Crimea. The enemy lost a Panzer S-2 air defense system worth about $20 million, one of the key elements of Russia's anti-aircraft network. With 2 radar systems, although destroyed or disabled, Russia's air defense in the Crimean direction has been seriously weakened. In addition, the SBU's Alpha Special Operation Center drones struck an oil depot in Avdiivka where fuel was stored. A massive fire broke out with thick black smoke writhing over the area. Another drone hit the Komsomolska oil depot. And now, exclusive footage. A Russian military train was blown off the tracks, carriages smashed to pieces. On October 26th, the Ukrainian military intelligence conducted a successful special operation on a railway near Tokmak in the occupied Zaporizhia region. Twisted along the tracks, 1 locomotive, 3 flatbacks and at least 9 cargo wagons of the enemy's military train, the intelligence reports. Around 70 meters of rail line were damaged, Russian logistics paralyzed. Although that night Ukrainian good drones flew 900 kilometers across Russian territory and hit oil depot in Ulyanovsk. As we say, an unrefueled tank won't destroy a kindergarten in Pokrovsk. These are direct military targets of the Kremlin's invasion, and our drones know that very well. Russian troops have deployed 11,000 soldiers to encircle Pokrovsk, according to paratroopers from Ukraine's 7th Air Assault Corps, who reported it on Facebook. Journalist Julia Kiriyenko also published video showing a Russian flag on the Pokrovsk city sign. Earlier, captured Russian soldiers confirmed that Putin ordered Pokrovsk to be taken by mid-November. Though the Kremlin is throwing everything it has at this front, death parade to show the world and especially the US president that it can still capture Ukrainian territory, that its claims over the whole Donbas somehow have military justification. But the price Russia paid for the delusion is beyond imagination. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Russia has lost 1,139 soldiers killed or crippled. That's over 1 million human lives, its own citizens and others. Every day, Russia loses around 1,000 troops. Yesterday alone, 1,150 soldiers were taken out of action. I don't know for sure if this number includes Russian police Lieutenant Colonel Veniamin Mazherin, but intelligence report that he died on October 25 when the car he was in exploded. You might ask why I'm mentioning this particular man. Here's why. Lieutenant Colonel Mazherin served in the Omon Oberek unit of the Russian National Guard, Rosgvardia, in the Kemerovo region. According to Ukrainian intelligence, Oberek is one of the many Rosgvardia units involved in war crimes and genocide against the Ukrainian people in the Kiev region during Russia's invasion in February-March 2022. Based on the collected evidence and witness testimonies, Ukraine's Prosecutor General's office has opened a criminal case against this unit for violations of the law and customs of war. So, yes, even Mazherin's car burned from shame together with its criminal driver. I truly hope that every war criminal in this conflict will face justice. And now we move on. President Donald Trump has admitted he was wrong about how to resolve the war in Ukraine. He said he believed his good relationship with Putin would make things easy.
The only one I didn't do is Russia, Ukraine, but that'll get done too. That'll get done. I thought that was going to be an easy one because of my relationship with President Putin. He turned out to be a little different, but I think it'll get done.
Mr. President, we also want this war to end, but fairly. It's a pity it took you so long to reach that conclusion. We just hope it's the right one and that Russia won't get what it wants from this war. Meanwhile, France has announced it will be ready to deploy troops to Ukraine in 2026. Next year, Orion 26 military exercises will test the coordination of various branches of the armed forces, allies and ministries. France may also transfer additional Mirage 2000 aircraft to Ukraine. And both Spain and France have joined the Pearl initiative, allowing them to buy American weapons and provide them to Ukraine for self-defense.
The time has come. France is ready to deploy troops for Ukraine in 2026, said Pierre Schill, Chief of Staff of the French Army. The statement about troop deployment came after the top. The French military leadership warned of the need to be prepared for a confrontation with Russia in 3 to 4 years. Also, as early as next year, the Orion 26 exercises will be held to test the effectiveness of cooperation between different branches of the military, allies and ministries.
It should be remembered that France and Emmanuel Macron were the initiators of the idea of having foreign troops present in Ukraine. Yes, they did not receive full support from their allies, not even within the European Union. Accordingly, they were forced to back down from this idea. Plus, during the Biden administration, the United States said, we can't be at odds with Europe, but we don't want to be in Ukraine, so let's agree that you won't be there either. But now the situation is starting to change. On one hand, Donald Trump says he is not going to defend Europe, not going to defend NATO allies. Then he changes his mind, but for Trump, that's normal. But most importantly, he says that Ukraine is a European problem, so let the Europeans solve it.
Ukraine may soon receive additional aircraft, Mirage 2000s from France. The relevant decisions have already been made, reports President Volodymyr Zelensky.
This demonstrates that it's not only the US helping Ukraine, because there was an impression that without American weapons, nothing would happen. France is saying that, no guys, we have Caesars, we have Mirages, we have other things. Weapons that Ukraine is using, and using effectively, so don't forget about them. And the provision of Mirages is a demonstration that we are in the game.
Experts note that Mirages are very effective weapons for shooting down missiles, which Russia uses to attack Ukraine.
Because it is our pilots, flying French Mirages as well as F-16s, who take to the skies during a missile attack. In the air, they intercept Russian missiles and destroy them there. And Mirages play a role in this. That's why the Mirage is useful. It's not just a demonstration that France stands with Ukraine. It's also an opportunity to better repel attacks. And in the future, it may even be possible to organize certain operations, including on the territory of the Russian Federation.
Britain is taking on the task of helping our country with air defense. In the future, the country also plans to help with missiles and the production of interceptor drones.
Back in 2023, the German Council on Foreign Relations wrote in its report that, according to their analysis, within 6 to 10 years after the end of the war in Ukraine, Russia will attack Germany. Specifically Germany, not Europe, but Germany itself will be at war. Since then, the dates have changed, how much time Russia would need, but the idea that Russia wants to go to war with Europe has not gone away. And sometimes Europeans, I emphasize, when they want to boost their geopolitical significance, recall this existential threat coming from Russia and say, we are actually ready to train and even send troops to Ukraine.
Spain and Finland have joined the PARL initiative, which allows the purchase of weapons for Ukraine from the United States using partner funds. The president of Ukraine announced this while speaking to journalists in Brussels.
Politically, it's important for Trump so he can say, we're not helping Ukraine, we're just selling weapons to our NATO partners, and what they do with them, giving them to Ukraine, is their own business. It's very important that ideally all NATO countries are involved. As many countries as possible should participate in this program. I understand that Hungary might be against it, but the main economies are involved, and not just from Europe. By the way, Canada is also a participant in this program, Canada as well. Sometimes a separate batch of weapons purchased from the US was paid for by Canada, and here there's this term win-win. In this case, it's a win-win situation for you as well.
Finland has also announced its contribution of 100 million euros for Ukraine. Earlier, Norway announced additional funding of $200 million. As part of the PARL program, 6 NATO member countries have already financed 4 packages of defense support for Ukraine. These are the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Germany, and Canada.
Let's turn to Hungary's Viktor Orbán, the prime minister who loves playing for the Kremlin's team. Putin considers Hungary his friendly EU partner, and Orban is now trying to form an anti-Ukrainian bloc within the European Union, hoping to recruit the Slovak and new Czech prime ministers, both known for their pro-Russian and anti-Ukrainian views. With these cards in hand, Orban is soon visiting President Trump. What he will tell him, only and probably his Kremlin handler know. But we've gathered the facts, so you'll know exactly what to expect from Hungary's pro-Kremlin leader.
Viktor Orbán's last push. After many years of criticism and partial isolation in the EU, the Hungarian Prime Minister wants to try to regain his influence in European politics.
Hungarians do not want to be in the same European Union as Ukrainians. If you are in a federal system with someone, you share their fate, and Ukraine is a country with a very complicated fate. Why should we share this complicated fate?
As political rights, Orban is seeking to unite the Czech Republic and Slovakia into a new alliance of skeptics that will oppose further military and financial aid to Kyiv. According to his advisor, Balázs Orban, this bloc should coordinate common positions before EU summits in order to influence decisions concerning Ukraine.
I think this will happen and become increasingly noticeable. It worked well during the migration crisis. How we were able to resist.
This is about relaunching the old Visegrad Four: Hungary, the Czech Republic, Slovakia and Poland. But without Poland. Today, under the leadership of Donald Tusk, Warsaw firmly stands on the side of Ukraine. So Orban is left with those who sympathize with all things Russian: Robert Fico and Andrej Babiš. These are the leaders he wants to unite into a political bloc within the European Council in order to slow down sanctions against the Kremlin and block decisions on military support for Kyiv.
How realistic the creation of such an anti-Ukrainian coalition is, only time will tell. Today, for the most part, the Czech side takes a pro-Ukrainian stance and supports Ukraine. But as we can see, the situation, primarily in economic terms, can directly influence certain political sentiments in society in one country or another. Is it possible to influence the EU's decisions in this country in this way? Yes, it is possible. Will this Visegrad trio influence the decisions of the European Union? For now, the European Union currently appears to be more unified, and its position is still clear and still largely pro-Ukrainian.
At the same time, Orban is making loud statements about a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine, which is supposedly going to be signed in Budapest. He insists that the issue has already been resolved, although he does not mention any specific dates. For Brussels, this sounds like an attempt to seize the initiative, to turn Hungary into a mediator trusted by Moscow. And it is a new move by Orban on the international stage, a meeting with US President Donald Trump. This was reported by Hungary's Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó, according to Bloomberg. The key topic of the talks will be the impact of American sanctions on Russian oil. Szijjártó noted that this week Hungary is assessing their legal and physical impact. And if necessary, the Prime Minister will personally discuss the situation in Washington.
Viktor Orbán himself, on the one hand, remains consistent, but on the other hand, right now, at this very moment, he may try to seek certain positions that could boost his electoral ratings. That is, even if, let's suppose, if it really happened, if a meeting between Trump and Putin were to take place in Budapest, it would have a symbolic meaning, because we all know about our infamously known Budapest Memorandum. In fact, it would be a symbolic act. And if on this stage If during this meeting real agreements were reached on a ceasefire, on some genuine diplomacy, on a real negotiation process, then Orban would gain a lot of electoral points. He is very upset right now because he really wanted this meeting to take place in Budapest and for it to actually deliver results.
All of this is happening against the backdrop of the upcoming elections in Hungary in April 2026 and the country's loss of standing within the European Union. Recent studies show that Hungary ranks among the lowest EU countries in terms of upholding the rule of law. And recent constitutional amendments have intensified both domestic criticism and international discontent.
Viktor Orbán, it's important to understand that he has been leading the government in Hungary for almost 10 years now in a parliamentary republic. It is the prime minister who is the #1 political figure, and that's why his rather lengthy tenure at the top, not as the head of state, by the way, since formally he is not the head of state, but nevertheless at the very top of this political hierarchy, along with his fairly consistent policies, including, among other things, his stance toward Russia and Ukraine. This suggests that he probably feels quite confident even now. Although, on the other hand, sociological surveys currently being conducted in Hungary in the run-up to the parliamentary elections show that, with a high degree of probability, the elections, or rather his party, will lose. That is, they are trailing behind their main competitor, their opponent, who already has a different pro-Ukrainian stance and sympathies toward Ukraine. So,
what Orban is doing now is an attempt to somehow hold on to power and influence in Europe. Against the backdrop of the upcoming elections in April 2026, the decline of Hungary's opposition in the EU and internal criticism, Orban's strategy looks like a last-ditch effort. But experts warn that the risks are high, and only time will tell whether this last push will succeed.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism, and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
Lying on air about the war, smearing Ukraine and its Western allies, it's a very profitable business. Just look at Russia's top propaganda couple, Olga Skabeyeva and Yevgeny Popov. During the full-scale war, they've massively boosted their income and bought luxury property, all thanks to their daily hate shows. The next report exposes how these two professional brainwashers of the Russian nation have been cashing in on war propaganda for years.
Who lives best in a country where pensions and benefits are an afterthought?
War is an extremely expensive business.
State billions are spent on propaganda. Lies in Russia are very well paid, especially during Putin's war.
My name is Olga. Hello.
In the last 4 years, Skabeyeva and Popov's salaries have increased by 1.5 times.
Shut your mouth right now. That is, in fact, your current so-called Nazi Ukraine as it stands today.
After every broadcast about Nazis and Anglo-Saxons, you have to relax somewhere.
Give specific examples and numbers, for instance.
Calm down. Olga, the sewage tank. I completely disagree.
Thanks to her loose tongue, Skabeyeva and her husband managed to buy a new house with a swimming pool in the elite Novakova settlement. Olga Skabeyeva and Evgeny Popov became the owners of this country property in August of last year.
It's also a pretty prestigious location, for those who don't know, not far from Moscow. It's about a 20-minute drive from the MCAD, so not far at all. Well, it's considered maybe not quite on par with Rublevka, but you could say it's the second most prestigious location after Rublevka. It's genetically very closely related to the Russian elite in terms of its origins and development. So here's the distinctive architectural style that it represents.
The house, by the way, as befits a true Russian patriot, is built in the style of a Russian manor and cost 150 million rubles. It has 4 bedrooms, a wood-fired sauna, a living room, and a laundry room.
It all looks disgustingly tasteless. It makes you want to gouge your eyes out and erase your memory.
Before the full-scale invasion, the Skabeyeva-Popov family earned enough from propaganda to buy 2 apartments in Moscow worth 300 million rubles. One is 105 square meters, and the other is in the VTB Arena residential complex, which is within walking distance from the VGTRK studio.
It's located on the 9th floor. Inside, there's a 37-square-meter living room combined with a hall of the same size.
Maybe making money off lies will become impossible, but you still need something to live on.
That would be great. That would be truly imperial.
That's why they bought another non-residential space with a separate entrance on the first floor. The area of the space is 180 square meters, and the price is 130 million rubles.
Popov started hiding his income back in 2021. At that time, he declared an income of 18.2 million rubles. In the primaries, Popov took first place in his district, and he spent 40 million rubles on his election campaign. Now Skabiva's husband, as a deputy from United Russia, earns even more, about 500,000 rubles a month.
Deputies of the State Duma earn several times less than propagandists. For example, Popov's salary in the State Duma is only 500,000 rubles a month, but that's only in comparison to what he gets from television. He makes over 1 million, and his wife Skabiva, for her part, makes as much as 1,800,000 rubles a month.
On top of that, Popov also has a side job as a lecturer at the Znani Society, where he gets paid for the same kind of propaganda, but this time aimed at teenagers.
Of course, this has nothing to do with journalism. This is only about constant lying, inciting hatred, discord, and so on. Even according to the logic of current legislation, everything acquired through criminal means should be confiscated from the criminal.
TV propagandists, unlike the Russian economy, are doing just fine. TV executives are doing even better. The Rossiya TV channel, which airs the Popov and Skabiva show, is part of the state media holding VGTRK. For the past 25 years, it has been headed by Oleg Dobrodev, who owns assets worth billions and is under sanctions. Officially, his salary is modest, only 690,000 a month, but once a quarter he gets a bonus of 15 million. Konstantin Ernst uses the same scheme. His official salary is 850,000 rubles, but there are bonuses, the same 15 million.
Those who doubt it are needed because whoever has good rockets has good candy. That's why I really think that we need to stop being so modest and truly start recognizing our own worth.
But the lives of Russian propagandists may soon change. The Kremlin has decided to cut spending on the front, the informational front.
The scale of embezzlement is truly impressive. 1 billion rubles a day.
All the money is going to the war. The Ministry of Finance is frantically looking for more places to cut spending. It's becoming too expensive to fund the hysteria on TV screens, just like it is to pay contract soldiers for Putin's so-called special military operation.
We are ready to work together with the deputies. I'm confident that we will find a solution.
It's right to thank the government for listening to the deputies. And this allows us to effectively represent the interests of our citizens.
Judging by the draft budget for 2026 to 2028, the state is no longer willing to so generously feed its cheerleaders, who proudly speak about Russia's war crimes in Ukraine.
The troops launched a missile strike on targets in the Dnipropetrovsk region, in Kamyanska. The SBU blocked Vozrojdenia Avenue. There is, or rather was, a rehabilitation center for Ukrainian militants there.
VGTRK, which is fully state-owned, is the sacred cow of the propaganda airwaves where Skabiva and Popov work. Now they will receive a third less in their budget. Rossiya Segodnya had its funding cut by half and TASS by minus 35%. Simonyan's Russia Today will remain among the largest recipients of subsidies, but they are cutting costs there as well. In 2027 to 2028, the channel will receive 22.8 billion rubles, which is 31% less.
But at work, you always show remarkable courage and impressive resilience, no matter what challenges you face. I have no doubt at all that you'll be able to handle it this time as well, just as you have done so many times before.
And although the information front's budget is being cut, it's unlikely to affect the Kremlin's mouthpiece's luxury. They were prepared in advance, hiding their millions. People like them know how to live large, even under sanctions, shortages, and war.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Ukraine's defenders and glory to Ukraine. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. See you next time.